Hi, friends. A friend of mine was telling me that, I don't know if it was Barstool, but someone put out a list of the people from the Fyre Festival documentary that you want on your team. And of course, the number one guy is the one who would have
taken for the team.
Yeah, he would have taken one for the team.
And I think
mouthwash.
It was an unbelievable.
Spit that dignity right down the drain.
I couldn't stop watching.
But the other guy who was like, oh, yeah, I cut a few tents and I peed on it better.
Yes, yes, because we wanted to have no neighbors. So I peed on tents so people would stay away from soiled tents. That's like Lord of the Flies.
Did you watch the Hulu one or just the
No,
Netflix?
how is the Hulu one?
I haven't seen either one.
I've heard the Hulu one's even better.
Yeah, see, he's in the Billy McFarland is actually in the Hulu one, but the Netflix one is amazing because they have all the behind-the-scenes footage of the models being hammered, and these nerdy guys, and they're just a bunch of nerds who could never get within 10 feet of one of these models, and the only way they could do it is to pay them and try and get them drunk, and then their stupid toes like, yeah, we're gonna live like movie stars, party like rock stars, and F like porn stars. It's like, no, you're not. Because you're a nerd.
Yeah.
And you always will be. Yeah. And now you're a nerd going to prison. Oh, I learned that word. It's not Cersei. What's the word in Espanol for prison?
Cárcel.
Cárcel. Cárcel. That's it. Cárcel. La cárcel.
And how about Chuck Schumer's press secretary who shows up out of nowhere like, pardon me?
Is no one talking?
And he's like, can we put the cameras away? Like, yeah, why are you here?
Yeah.
He's out
on weirdo. You know why? Because he's a nerd too. So it's like they either want money or power, and that's the only way they'll get close to girls. Nerds.
I need to try it.
What was the tagline? It's like the best party that
never happened.
That never happened.
Yeah. It's fascinating. But I want one of those Fyre Festival sweatshirts. 1 minute.
I remember seeing like a little bit of news about it when it happened.
Yeah.
Like a little blip.
Yeah, I remember the cheese sandwich. Like I so remember the cheese sandwich.
I remember the cheese sandwich.
And having been to so many festivals and having covered so many festivals and knowing that it takes a certain mentality to rise above it because the elements are never in your favor, unlike the odds. And you have to just go, you know what, that's fine. For this weekend, I'm going to let go of comfort and we're just going to let it all happen.
Yeah, that was not what was sold.
That's not what's going to happen.
No.
30. Okay, bye. Just letting you know.
Thank you, Trish. The 2020 race just got a lot more interesting. The major Democrat candidates polling the party so far to the left, it could be a layup for President Trump. And now word, thank you, baby Jesus, Hillary Clinton is considering another run for the White House. Thank you, Hillary. We're going to start tonight with California Senator Kamala Harris, who officially tossed her hat into the ring last night. And in a speech in her hometown of Oakland, California, she laid out a laundry list of progressive promises that simply will not work. Sorry, KH.
I am running to declare once and for all that health care is a fundamental right, and we will deliver that right with Medicare for all. I am running to declare education is a fundamental right, and we will guarantee that right with universal pre-K and debt-free college.
But how are you going to pay for it? Never mind that. Just what we need. More expensive big government nonsense that we simply cannot afford. But listen to this. 20,000 people showed up to her rally. There's a great deal of enthusiasm there. And not to be outdone, our old pal, Vermont socialist Bernie Sanders, reportedly set to announce his own bid in the near future. Because the 1% can't have all of the white hair. He's going to be 79 years young on Election Day. He is political Yoda. And now to the news we've all been waiting for, including President Trump. According to reports, Hillary Clinton is not closing that 2020 door quite yet, despite losing fantastically not one but two times. Maybe she wants to be the Buffalo Bills of politics. That noise you hear is the collective groan of young Democrats begging for new blood, sniffing for a new car smell. But this may not, they may not get it this time around. Is this all news? Good news, rather, to the president's ears. Let's go to tonight's fantastic panel. She's a correspondent for The Greg Gutfeld Show and a National Review online reporter. Kat Timpf is here along with townhall.com political editor and co-host of Benson and Antjuan on Fox News Radio. Guy Benson is back, along with Democratic strategist and former advisor to both the DNC and Hillary Clinton's campaign. Her last one, that is. It's Antjuan Seawright. Welcome, everyone.
Hello.
Antjuan, it is Player's Choice night. Where would you like to go first? You want to go to Kamala or Hillary?
We can go to Kamala.
All right. So you like Kamala Harris?
Well, I think she brings something to the race that we haven't seen in my lifetime. For the first time in my lifetime, context, I'm 33. My generation will have the chance to vote for an African-American female.
And
not only be our party's
Let's not
nominee.
discount half of her lovely heritage.
But in context, most people see her as a black woman. That's historic all by itself. But I also think we're starting to see the diversity of our party in full force, and I'm very excited about it. If you look at her rally, I mean, I think her rally had more energy and more swag to it than Barack Obama's historic.
Well, everyone keeps saying that, but
I don't want to make the comparison. But the point I'm making is,
well, that's what everyone's doing today.
Yeah, but I don't want to, because I'm in this business for a living. I don't want to make the comparison. But the point I'm making is we will have a diverse candidate. The first time, record number of African Americans, one Latino, and who knows who else may get in the race. What a time to be alive, in the words of that great philosopher Drake.
Well, I think it's a fantastic time for politicos, for people who follow politics, for political junkies. This is a great time because the field on the Democrat side is already so incredibly crowded because everyone believes, because they hate the president so much, that he is entirely beatable, and everyone believes that they are the person to do it. Why is Kamala Harris any different than the rest of the field and potential field?
Well, okay, so with Kamala, just setting aside her ideas, which I think are almost all terrible, right? I just want to stipulate that. No.
I think the term non-starter comes to mind.
Right, it looks like I'm a conservative, and so she's clearly never going to be my candidate, right? I disagree with her on almost everything.
If you just I'm just asking.
Let me just make my analysis here real quick, and we can get back to you. If you just look from an analytical standpoint at her rollout, it's been very impressive. You asked what's the difference between her and the others who have thrown their hat into the ring. No one has been as effective as she has, I think, in terms of announcing the way she did, a giant rally with 20,000 people, doing a town hall meeting on another network, I think. She's really going all in. She's making a lot of money, small dollar donations. She's making a serious splash. And for the first time of the whole crew, I've been like, this is a serious candidate.
She's also the only one, and you touch on a couple things which are critical when you're running for president. You can take politics and party out of it. You have to have intuition, and she does. She has the right feel for when to get in the race, because everyone who came before her, it's kind of like, nah, and everyone who's going to come later, no one is really going to care. Not because of her. She just happened to pick. She has good timing here, but also, yes, you're right, the fundraising.
And first impressions matter. A feeling that you get from a candidate right out of the gate matters and can have lasting power. So in that sense, I think she's done very well.
She's also the only one
who's competent rollout.
Saying, I'm going to start in the Southeast, and then I'm going to button everything up on the
There's
West
a plan.
South Carolina. Yes. I've been saying on this show for a year.
You are the Palmetto Prince, and you absolutely have. But, Kat, at some point, Democrats are going to have to turn on each other. I understand they all hate the president now, and they're going to do whatever they can, and I have no doubt they will line up behind whoever the candidate is. But at some point, they're going to have to attack each other's records, and I think that's where Kamala Harris is most vulnerable.
I think she's absolutely vulnerable when it comes to her record. She is coming out and saying she wants to fight for a more just criminal justice system, but her record, not so much. She fought for upholding a lot of convictions that any reasonable person would be concerned were wrongfully wrought. She also did not come out in support of legalizing marijuana until last year, which
laughed
is
at it.
super
in
late.
fact, laughed at it when they were talking about putting it back on the ballot.
When a reporter asked her about it in the past, she laughed at it, and she just recently said she's for it. And she just doesn't have the record of being this progressive prosecutor.
She's not. Absolutely not. She says she's a progressive prosecutor. She is not when it comes to civil liberties. And civil liberties tend to be really important when you are an attorney general.
But she doesn't have to be all these things that you two lovely ladies laid out.
Yes, when you're an attorney general, actually you do have to be just, and you do have to apply the law.
In order to get through our primary, what I have said to her personally, and what I've said to the Boston Globe, I think it was the other day, she needs to defend her record, no doubt, and explain and move on, but do not allow it to be a crowning issue, because they're going to be jabs at all the candidates.
Well, speaking of crowning issues, a number of Democrats reportedly freaking out over the possibility that former Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz might run as an independent. They're reportedly very worried that he would take votes from the Democrat candidate, thus handing the president an easy second term. Last night on 60 Minutes, Schultz made his case with a lot of teeth.
I will run as a centrist independent outside of the two-party system. We're living at a most fragile time. Not only the fact that this president is not qualified to be the president, but the fact that both parties are consistently not doing what's necessary on behalf of the American people.
All right, now some Democrats are threatening to boycott Starbucks until Schultz abandons his plans to run. They all say that. They're not going to do it. They're going to open the app tomorrow morning. At the same time, New York billionaire Michael Bloomberg, he ruled out running as an independent for fear of dividing the vote in Trump's favor, but he did not comment on possibly running as a Democrat himself. And billionaire leftist Trump hater Tom Steyer warning Democrats, saying, quote, unless you support impeachment, we're not supporting you. What a mean girl. So should the party be worried about the billionaire boys club ruining their chances to retake the White House? Howard Schultz is fascinating because, you know, here is someone, and this is the problem as we've seen with CEOs. They run their businesses with complete control. Sure, they have to capitulate to the board, but essentially it's their ideas and their vision, and they do whatever it takes to project and follow through on that vision. Much harder to do as president of the United States. And Howard Schultz, in making the case against the president, is actually making the case against himself.
He would probably say I'm a better CEO than Trump was, right? That's sort of the message that he would make against the president. I think he's an interesting guy. He's been very successful, has a cool personal story. I like a politician who's at least pretending to care about the long-term debt, because we don't really have anyone being serious about the long-term debt.
I agree with him
there. And he is
there.
saying that. I don't have agreement with him on any number of issues. I think the reaction has been telling and also massively overblown. I mean, we had Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, two of the least popular major party nominees in history, going against each other in 2016, and the outside candidates got like 4 or 5%. Let's see how this plays out.
Okay, but that's what I want to ask you, because I would love to see the field open up. I think there's a duopoly, there's a stranglehold on our national elections because of the Republican and Democrat Party. Does Howard Schultz, not by virtue of his Howardness, but is there something about an independent run funded by a billionaire that actually helps third parties?
I think so. I think that people shouldn't be afraid to run for president just because they don't fit within the box of Democrat or Republican. A lot of people don't fit in that box, and actually it's increasing numbers of people that don't fit in that box. A lot of younger people do identify as independent or as another political party besides Democrat or Republican. And people shouldn't be afraid to run for president. And I also think when you reach a certain level of being rich, you can't really seem to help yourself. I feel like a lot of rich guys are always saying, hey, I want to run for president.
Yeah.
They have, it's
I want
just
to be
crazy.
the most powerful person in the world.
It's crazy to have that kind of confidence, right? Because with me, I'm like, I can send this text message after I show it to 4 of my best friends. That's the kind of confidence I have. Don't have the confidence to run for leader of the free world.
Aristotle always said, seek the counsel of the wise and the many. So there you have it. But if Howard Schultz gets in, and he really, you know, because he's going to have the funding, he's going to have the ground game, he's going to have all the things that, you know, Hillary was supposedly unbeatable for having, and that just solidifies a Trump win, doesn't it?
As someone who does this for a living, Kennedy, I understand the fierce urgency of now within the party. And I've seen what happened with my former client Hillary Clinton in 3 states, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan, where a third-party candidate, I think, derailed her opportunity to win those states.
I'm glad.
And so I think
I hope we have more third-party candidates.
I think it will be very.
Third, fourth,
I think it will be very problematic. But the first thing I ask any candidate
why should it just be Republican and Democrat?
I'm not saying that.
That is empty.
No,
those are empty choices.
So why he wants to run? If he really wants to defeat Donald Trump, then maybe running for president should not be his thing, because he cannot win as an independent voice. Sure, there's a place for the Howard Schultz of the world, but this presidential cycle is not there.
Yeah,
where's the place for him?
Find a place.
He's not a progressive Democrat like Tom Steyer.
No, he can help voter turnout. He can do voter education. There are a lot of, you don't have to run for office.
But maybe he doesn't feel represented by either major political party, which a lot of Americans don't, and we feel like we don't have options.
As a third-party candidate will not move the ball forward. And if his mission is to defeat Trump, it will not work.
I don't know, man. It's an Apple world.
I am totally convinced about it. I've seen it happen
you're selling IBMs right now.
No. I think I'm selling Apple Watches, actually.
I don't know. Because here's the thing. And this is the problem with the big strain of populism that's taking over both parties. Choice is now demonized. It really is. And it becomes zero-sum politics and economics, and that has been disproven. But, you know, you're hell-bent on reliving the lessons of history again and again.
Kennedy, as a Democrat, where would Howard find his place in our party in terms of finding a groove?
I don't care.
It doesn't work.
I don't need for him to find a groove. I'm not a Democrat.
It doesn't work
I don't care.
of if his goal is to defeat Donald Trump.
You know,
that's what I care about as a Democrat.
Oprah said, "Live your best life." She was the embodiment of Starbucks.
Run all you want, but if your goal is to defeat Donald Trump, then don't run as independent.
Because you know he will, which is why Republicans are like, I love
Republicans want him to run because it increases their chances.
They were supposed to boycott Starbucks. Now it's Democrats boycotting Starbucks. No one's going to
like his Planned Parenthood and guns, right? We were mad at Starbucks for that.
Yes.
Now the Democrats are mad at him for other reasons, and I think Starbucks will keep selling coffee.
What if Starbucks started selling guns? Guy, last word.
Oh boy, that's an interesting prospect that I'll mull over.
I mean, better Starbucks than a bar, right?
I've never shot a gun, and I don't drink coffee, so I'm not the target audience for gun Starbucks.
It's going to be an interesting break because we're going to do both when we come back. The panel is returning a little later in the show, but we are going to talk about President Trump accepting Nancy Pelosi's invitation to deliver the State of the Union address a week from tomorrow. Is this a sign that the two sides are finally willing to work together before the next shutdown deadline in 3 weeks? Joining me next, Arizona Congressman Andy Biggs in the House. Stay put.
I know, yep, yeah, you too. Okay, everybody meet Mr. Me Too. I know, yep, yeah, you too. Okay, we get it.
Okay, yep, we get it. The World Economic Forum just wrapped up in Davos, Switzerland. Did you go? Business and political leaders gathered to discuss issues and problems facing the global economy. But this year, one of the heaviest topics weighing on the minds of those who run these big companies, especially the fellas, was, of course, the MeToo movement. MeToo has encouraged women to speak up about harassment in the workplace, and it has forced companies to listen. But according to a New York Times report, a lot of the guys in charge are worried about being accused of harassment, and now they're minimizing contact with female employees. As a result, women trying to move up the ladder are getting excluded from one-on-one meetings, work dinners, and mentoring, which basically puts them back at square one. So do men have a legitimate concern, and how do we fix this so women can finally get a fair shake in business? The panel is back. Kat, Antjuan, and Guy. Kat, I will start with you because obviously there has been so much good, and many people and the victims of workplace harassment internalized and felt guilty, and it wasn't until the Me Too moment where a lot of victims were able to come forward and share their stories. Right. And there was something healthy and very necessary about that. But is there something to this backlash?
No, I think that this backlash is garbage. I think that if you cannot tell the difference between speaking to a woman and sexually harassing that woman, you shouldn't be in the workplace, let alone be some sort of senior executive. Things you can say: Susan, I liked your presentation. Things you can't say: Susan, I like your butt. It's really not that hard. It's really not that difficult to not harass a woman. And if you think you don't know if you're doing it or not, get out of the workplace. You're garbage. Nobody needs you. This is disgusting. Women have waited so long for justice and to be able to share their stories. Yeah. And for just wanting justice, being penalized in this way absolutely makes me sick.
All right, but what about men who see some of their colleagues and their reputations destroyed, and are they being hyper defensive by saying, well, I'm not going to mentor women anymore? Is it just an excuse to maintain the old boys network?
I don't know if it's that, but I tend to side more with Kat here, because if you are just trying to mentor someone as opposed to mentor someone, you should be completely fine. Right, you can have a dinner, you can give professional advice, and you have nothing to be afraid of. Occasionally you'll have like a crazy person who makes totally false allegations.
I think
but
that's
the vast majority of the Me Too
that's what some men are reacting to, and I think that is the fear, is being falsely accused, and the rush to judgment and activating the mob, as we saw in the Covington case.
Yes, that's what terrifies. That's all fair, but I also think, like, you know, the Harvey Weinsteins of the world, it wasn't one woman and every other woman's like, what are you talking about? He was a wonderful mentor to me. They're all like,
Meryl Streep's like, we knew, we talked about it for years.
If you just don't be that guy.
So what do we do now? You're a man. You're in business.
Yeah, I mean, look,
do you employ the Pence rule? You don't go out to dinner with a woman?
I make it my business to try to empower women because I am a son, I have a sister, I have 3 nieces. So I think it's important. So I use my business as an opportunity to not only empower 1, but 3 or 4. So when I mentor, if I'm at a college campus, you know, I will speak to 3 or 4 young ladies and tell them how to get in this business and what can they do to be successful. I don't think we should be afraid. I think we should be careful. And I agree with these fellow 2 panelists. There's a difference between saying what's right and what you really want to be what's right. And so I just think there's a difference.
Yeah, but what about someone who is falsely accused? How do you get your reputation back?
You can't. I mean,
that's
look,
a problem.
You should be
when you are convicted in the court of public opinion, you're done.
Yeah, but that's a problem as well.
Absolutely it is. But the internet doesn't forget. So how do you do that? I don't know. I don't think will ever be an answer to that, but it's unfortunate that we have that problem.
All right, so does the justice that we've seen from this movement outweigh that potential setback?
The setback of women not getting one-on-one meetings or not being
of men not being able to get their reputations back when they're falsely accused.
I think that that's less of a problem than what we've seen happen with so many women, especially when you see so many women accusing the same man, which has happened over and over again. Some very powerful men. I think that the justice that these women got is absolutely very important.
But we shouldn't settle for, like, both. Or we should be able to say, like, you can punish men who are bad actors and not have innocent guys get their lives ruined.
I agree.
Based on, like, we should be able to gun for.
Well, and that's why we got to continue to have this conversation, and we will on another day. Antjuan, Guy, and Kat, good to see you all. Thank you.
You too.
Topical Storm is next. Stay right here.